Are you getting back pain when you're running? If this is you, if you're a runner and you're struggling with back pain, keep watching this video because I'm going to take you through the most common causes of back pain for runners and what to do about it. Okay, so the reason this is an issue is for runners, we need to be consistent with our training. Okay, so if you're getting back pain coming on midway through a run, it gets really difficult to continue on, although most of us try and push through anyway and finish the session. But when that happens is you're left with pain afterwards and often into the following days. And that makes it more difficult to do your next run for the next day, which makes it difficult to pick up again. So essentially what ends up happening to people with back pain who run is you end up diluting your training plan completely once you start missing all those sessions. And that's an issue because consistency is really, really important in running in order to progress. Runners like to progress. It's really difficult for runners if we don't see that progression. So I often find that runners who experience back pain, they end up becoming really demotivated if they're not able to get on top of the pain because it stops them from progressing, which is the whole reason we join running in the first place. Okay, so we don't want this for you. We want you to be able to solve your back pain and be able to continue running without that pain coming on every single time you go for a run. That way you can continue to progress and hit your training goals, tick off your marathon that you've always wanted to do, or your half marathon, or your fastest 5K, whatever it is that you are training for. That's what we want for you. So if you want that as well, keep watching all the way to the end. I'm going to take you through the most common causes and what to do about it. So number one, the most common cause that we find for back pain in runners is weakness through the hip muscles, all right? Your hip muscles are really important when you're running because what they do is they help transfer the weight every time you step, all right? So when you step, what your hip muscles do is they stop your hip from dropping side to side every time you take a step. As they get fatigued though, what can happen is you get that hip drop whenever you're landing on the ground. And so you can imagine with how many steps runners take in a run is with that repetition, that constant hip drop, it really starts to aggravate the spine because you're essentially laterally flexing every single time you take a step. All right, so then it builds up the pain in your back. If the glute muscles, for example, get so fatigued that they start to spasm up, then that's when you start to get a shooting pain down your leg. And so look, the really easy solution to that is strengthening up your hip muscles. So if you think this might be the problem for you, make sure you get in with one of our physios because it's really easy to put together a nice little progressive exercise for you, exercise program for you in order to tackle the weakness through your hips. It's really easy to test for as well, so it's pretty obvious to us when you come in. All right. The second thing that tends to happen for runners is a issue with your actual running technique, or what we call running gait. All right, so if you're a heavy heel striker or if your pelvic position is too far tilted forwards or even too flat, it can actually cause overload to the lower back as well. So if you haven't had your technique looked at, make sure, again, get in with one of the physios. We can have a look at your running technique and work out if that's the issue for you, because it can be a very simple fix, like let's push you a little bit further forwards towards your toes, or let's tuck the pelvis under, or work on getting it anteriorly rotated. And those things are just simply technique fixes which can make all the difference. All right. The third thing that we would look at for a runner who's having back pain is your flexibility in through your hip flexors and your hamstrings as well. What can happen is with runners, especially people who have been running for quite a long time, if you do not have a mobility program that you follow at home, then what can happen is those muscles can tighten up and tighten up and tighten up to the point where at some point it's going to stop you from moving properly, or it restricts normal movement. And so for runners, it's really important that we can move the hip and the knee and the ankle through their full range. When it gets to the point that, say, the hamstrings and the hip flexors are so tight that it's actually restricting your hip extension or restricting your knee drive, then it can start again to overload the lower back and you can start to get pain through through there, all right? So they're your 3 things. So let me go through them again. Number 1, weakness through your hip muscles. Number 2, an issue with your running gait or your technique. And number 3 is tight hamstrings and hip flexors, all right? So if you're getting back pain, all those things are easily fixed with some physio advice and some treatment and some exercise programming. So if you're having back pain while running, don't freak out. Come and see us, or just send us a message if you just want a little bit more info. We're always here to help you out. It's all solvable things, okay? So thanks for watching. I really hope this helped. If you know any runners, tag them in the comments below so that they can be helped as well. All right, so thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.